What would you do if a police officer hit your child? Only to realize seconds later, you're his new boss? Stay till the end because this story will leave you speechless. And hey, before we dive in, if you believe justice always finds its way, hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live for more powerful true stories that open hearts and change minds. It was a bright Monday morning in the quiet town of Willow Creek, a place where everyone knew everyone and nothing ever seemed to change. But that morning, change came faster than anyone expected. Marcus Johnson, a tall black man in his early 40s, was driving his teenage son Jaden to school. Marcus had just moved back home after years working in the city. To most people, he looked like any other dad, calm, confident, and dressed neatly in a gray suit. What they didn't know was that Marcus had returned for a big reason. He had just been appointed as the new chief of police, though the announcement hadn't gone public yet. Jaden, sitting beside him, was laughing about his first day back at a new school. "Dad, I'm not worried. I've been the new kid before." Marcus smiled. "I know you'll do great, son. Just remember, respect everyone no matter what." Jaden nodded. "Always, Dad." But as they passed through Main Street, Marcus noticed flashing lights in his rearview mirror. A police cruiser was tailing them aggressively. He frowned. "That's odd. I wasn't even speeding." He pulled over calmly. Jaden looked confused. "What's going on?" "Probably a mix-up," Marcus said, rolling down his window. A white officer stepped out of the car. Officer Bradley Kent, tall, muscular, and known for his short temper. His jaw was already tight, his hand resting on his holster. Kent barked, "License and registration." Marcus kept his tone steady. "Of course, officer. Can I ask what this is about?" Kent scowled. "You can ask after you comply." Marcus handed over his documents, but Kent's eyes shifted past him to Jaden. "What's your son doing?" Kent snapped suddenly. Jaden froze. "Nothing, sir." He had simply reached for his backpack on the floor. Kent yanked open the car door. "Hands where I can see them." "Officer," Marcus raised his hands. "He's a kid. He's just getting his—" Before he could finish, Kent's fist shot forward. A sickening crack filled the air as it connected with Jaden's cheek. The boy crumpled against the seat, stunned and trembling. Time stopped. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. Every instinct screamed to protect his son, but he knew one wrong move could make things worse. "Step out of the vehicle now," Kent shouted. "You people think you can talk back to the law?" Those words hit harder than the punch. Marcus slowly stepped out, towering over the officer now. His calm eyes burned with quiet fury. "You've made a serious mistake," he said, his voice low and steady. Kent sneered. "Yeah, and what mistake is that?" Marcus reached into his jacket pocket. Kent's hand jumped to his gun. "Easy," Marcus said, pulling out a single black leather ID case and flipping it open. The silver badge gleamed under the morning sun. Chief Marcus D. Johnson, Willow Creek Police Department. Kent's face drained of color. The street fell silent. Bystanders who had begun to gather gasped in disbelief. Marcus's voice cut through the air, firm but controlled. "Officer Kent, I suggest you put your weapon down. Right now." Kent's hand trembled as he lowered the gun, stammering, I didn't know, sir, I thought." Marcus looked down at his son, who was wiping tears from his swollen cheek. Then he turned back to Kent. "You didn't think at all. You saw skin color before you saw a child," the crowd murmured. Phones were recording. Justice, it seemed, was watching. Marcus took a deep breath, eyes never leaving the man who had struck his son. "You're going to regret this, Officer Kent. Not because I'm your chief, but because I'm a father." The sound of his words lingered in the air like thunder. When the truth hits a town built on silence, some people speak out, but most turn away. You won't believe how far this story goes, so make sure you watch till the end. And if you believe no badge should ever be above justice, hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live for more powerful stories that open hearts. Marcus stood still beside his car, watching Officer Kent fumble for words. His hands shook, his face pale. The street buzzed with murmurs as bystanders whispered, phones raised high. Some recorded everything. Others pretended not to see. Jaden sat in the passenger seat, clutching his cheek, his young eyes wide and wet. He had never seen his father this way. calm on the outside but burning with something fierce beneath. "Sir, I swear I didn't know," Kent began, voice cracking. Marcus cut him off sharply. "You didn't need to know, officer. You just needed to care." Before Kent could respond, 2 patrol cars pulled up. Officers stepped out, confused at the sight, one of their own trembling before a man in a suit with a badge that outranked them all. Marcus turned to one of them. "Take Officer Kent to the station. I'll handle the paperwork." "Yes, Chief," the younger officer said hesitantly. The word chief hung heavy in the air, sinking into everyone who heard it. As Kent was led away, Marcus turned back to Jaden. "Are you okay, son?" Jaden nodded weakly. "Yeah? Just hurts." Marcus's heart twisted. He had seen men hurt in the line of duty before, but never his own child, and never for this. He drove Jaden home in silence. His thoughts were loud. The look in Kent's eyes, the fear in the crowd, the way people watched but didn't act. When they reached home, his wife Renee ran out the door. "Oh my God, what happened?" She cradled Jaden's face gently, seeing the bruise forming under his eye. Marcus explained everything, each word tasting bitter on his tongue. When he finished, Renee's eyes filled with tears of anger. "They hit our son, Marcus, on your first day back." "I know," he said softly, "and I'm not letting it slide." That night, Marcus sat alone at the kitchen table, the official police chief folder open before him. Tomorrow morning, his appointment would be announced publicly. But now that moment of pride was gone, replaced by a mission he never wanted but one he could no longer ignore. He picked up his phone and called the mayor. "Mayor Collins," he said evenly, "we have a problem." The mayor sighed. "Marcus, I already heard. It's all over social media. Look, Kent's been with us for years. Good record. Maybe we can—" Marcus's tone sharpened. "He assaulted a child. My child on camera. And you think we can smooth it over?" Silence. Then the mayor said quietly, "You're going to stir up a lot of trouble if you push this." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then I guess it's about time this town faced its trouble." He hung up. The next morning, Willow Creek gathered at City Hall. The banner behind the podium read, "Welcome our new police chief, Marcus D. Johnson." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The same man who had been stopped, questioned, and nearly shot less than 24 hours ago now stood in front of the same officers. Some nervous, some embarrassed, a few even defiant. Jaden and Renee sat in the front row, their presence quiet but powerful. Marcus stepped to the podium. The crowd murmured, cameras flashing. He took a deep breath and began. "Yesterday I experienced firsthand what too many of our citizens already know, that justice looks different depending on the color of your skin. My son was punched, my authority was questioned, and our community was tested." The room went still. He continued, "But I didn't come here to seek revenge. I came here to build change, real change, the kind that starts with accountability." A few officers shifted uncomfortably. Officer Kent was nowhere to be seen, but everyone knew his name was the unspoken ghost in the room. Marcus's voice rose. "This department will no longer protect those who abuse their power. The badge on your chest does not make you untouchable. It makes you responsible." Applause began to ripple through the crowd, hesitant at first, then stronger. Marcus's eyes scanned the faces before him. Some clapped with genuine hope. Others looked away, afraid of what this new era meant. But one thing was clear. The silence that had once ruled Willow Creek was breaking. When you try to change a broken system, the system fights back. Marcus thought he'd seen the worst of it, but what came next would test everything he believed in. Stay till the end. And if you believe truth always finds the light, hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Live for more stories that move hearts and open minds. The applause from Marcus's first speech as chief still echoed in the town hall when the real battle began. By the next morning, his phone was flooded with calls. Half were messages of support, parents thanking him, community leaders offering to help. The other half, angry officers, old-school town officials, and even anonymous threats. "Don't stir things up. You'll ruin our department's image. Remember who you're dealing with." But Marcus had dealt with fear before. What he hadn't dealt with and was betrayal. When he walked into the precinct the next day, the room fell silent. Conversations died mid-sentence. Coffee cups froze mid-air. The same officers who used to greet him with respect now avoided his eyes. Marcus didn't flinch. He walked straight to his office, placed his badge on the desk, and called for a meeting. Within minutes, the room filled with officers, some veterans, some rookies, and among them, a few loyal ones who still believed in him. "Listen," Marcus began, standing tall at the front. "I know some of you think what happened yesterday is just bad publicity, but it's not. It's a wake-up call." A murmur went through the crowd. One officer, a tall man named Peterson, crossed his arms. "With all due respect, Chief, Kent's been with us for 12 years. He made a mistake. No need to make him a villain." Marcus's gaze sharpened. "A mistake is forgetting paperwork. Punching a kid in the face isn't a mistake, and it's an abuse of power." Peterson frowned. "You're turning your back on your own men." Marcus's voice grew colder. "No, I'm turning my back on corruption. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you're part of the problem." The room went silent again. Marcus could feel the tension, a mix of fear and defiance. He dismissed them calmly, but his instincts told him this wasn't over. Later that afternoon, Marcus received a call from an unknown number. "Chief Johnson?" A voice said quietly. "You don't know me, but you need to see something." "Who is this?" Marcus asked. "I'm just a guy who fixes the department's IT systems," the voice whispered. "There's something you should know about Officer Kent." Within the hour, Marcus met the man in a quiet diner on the edge of town. The man slid a small flash drive across the table. "What's this?" "Footage," he said. "Security cam data the department tried to delete. Kent's done this before, and the old chief covered it up." Marcus's heart dropped. "How many times?" "3 that I found. Maybe more." He took the drive and thanked the man, who left quickly, glancing over his shoulder. When Marcus returned to his office, he plugged the drive into his computer. One by one, the videos played. Grainy but clear enough. Different faces, different people. Each time, Kent's temper flared. Each time, someone got hurt. And each time, the reports were lost. Marcus leaned back, anger and heartbreak mixing in his chest. It wasn't just one bad officer. It was a system built to protect bad behavior. He called his deputy officer, Lily Trand, one of the few he trusted. "Lily, I need a full report on every complaint Kent's been involved in." She hesitated. "Chief, are you sure?" "You'll be stepping on a lot of toes." "I'm already standing on them," Marcus replied. The next morning, an article hit the local news. New police chief targets veteran officer in racial bias probe. Marcus hadn't spoken to any reporters, which meant someone in his department had leaked it. By noon, protesters gathered outside the station. Some carried signs that said "Justice for Jaden." Others shouted that Marcus was ruining good cops. Inside, Marcus stood at his office window, watching the chaos unfold. Renee called him, her voice trembling. "Marcus, they're saying awful things on social media. About you, about Jaden." He closed his eyes. "I know, but if I back down now, nothing changes." Then a sharp knock at his door. Officer Tran entered, holding a folder. "Chief, you need to see this. Kent's lawyer just filed a complaint against you." Marcus blinked. "Against me?" "Yes, sir. For harassment and defamation. They're claiming you're abusing your power." Marcus let out a long, steady breath. The walls were closing in, and he could almost feel the system tightening its grip, but he wasn't about to give in. He looked up at Tran and said, "Then it's time we show them what real abuse of power looks like, and end it for good. Sometimes, when you chase justice, you find out just how deep the darkness really goes." Marcus was about to uncover a secret that would shake the entire department and the town to its core. If you believe truth always finds a way, hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live for more stories that open hearts and change lives. Marcus barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the flash drive, the footage, the faces of people who had been silenced, and then he'd see Jaden, his son, bruised, quiet, but still managing a small, brave smile. At dawn, Marcus sat in his office again, a cup of cold coffee untouched beside him. Officer Lily Tran entered quietly, holding a thick folder. "Chief," she said, "I pulled everything I could find. Complaints, incident logs, witness statements are all tied to Officer Kent." Marcus took the file, flipping through pages of forgotten names and closed cases. These were buried, he murmured. Worse than buried, Lily said, erased. Someone higher up made sure these never saw daylight. Marcus frowned. Who? Lily hesitated, then lowered her voice. The previous chief and maybe even the mayor. The words hit him like a cold wave. Mayor Collins, the same man who had told him not to stir things up. It all made sense now. Marcus stood abruptly. We're going to City Hall. The mayor's office smelled like expensive cigars and polished wood. Collins looked up as Marcus entered, Lily at his side. His smile was forced. Marcus, I heard about the protests. Things are getting messy. Marcus didn't waste time. He dropped the folder on the mayor's desk. You want to explain this? Collins opened it, feigned confusion. Old reports. Why bring this to me? Because your signature is on every one of them, Marcus shot back. You signed off on insufficient evidence for 3 brutality cases, all involving Kent. You protected him. Collins sighed, leaning back. You're new here, Marcus. You don't understand how this town works. Kent kept things quiet, kept the crime rate low. Sometimes you have to overlook small mistakes for the greater good. Marcus's voice sharpened. Beating citizens isn't a mistake, it's a crime. Collins stood now, voice rising. Watch your tone, Chief. I gave you this job because you were supposed to make people feel safe, and not turn the town upside down. Marcus stepped closer, eyes locked on his. You gave me this job to make the department look good, but I'm here to make it right. Collins glared. You're making enemies, Marcus. Marcus turned to leave. Then I'm doing something right. That night, Marcus held a town meeting at the community center. Word had spread fast, and cameras, reporters, families, all filled the room. Jaden sat in the front row beside his mom, his cheek still bruised but healing. Marcus stepped to the microphone. For years, he began, this town has believed that silence equals peace. But silence only protects the guilty. He held up the folder. I have proof. Proof that Officer Kent and others abused their power, and that those above them allowed it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones lifted. People whispered Kent's name. Change doesn't start with punishment, Marcus continued. It starts with truth. And tonight, the truth is finally coming out. Then, just as he spoke those words and the lights flickered, a loud crack echoed. The projector screen behind him shattered, sparks flying. Chaos erupted. Get down, someone yelled. Marcus grabbed Jaden and Renee, shielding them as officers rushed in. Someone had fired a shot through the window, straight toward the stage. When the room finally calmed, Marcus stood, shaken but unharmed. The bullet had missed him by inches. Reporters shouted questions. Renee's hands trembled. Jaden clung to her. But Marcus's eyes burned with a new fire. This proves one thing, he said firmly, raising his voice so everyone could hear. They're scared of the truth, and that means we're closer than ever. The crowd erupted in applause. For the first time, the people of Willow Creek stood united, not in fear but in defiance. Back at the station, Marcus reviewed the security footage from the meeting. The shot came from a distance in the parking lot. The shooter was masked, but the car caught his attention, a police-issued SUV. He froze the frame, zoomed in on the license plate. His chest tightened. It was registered to Officer Peterson, the same man who had defended Kent in the meeting. Marcus sat back, his hands trembling, not from fear, but resolve. If they want a war, he whispered, they've got one. They tried to silence him. They tried to break him, but when a father stands for truth, even a whole system can't stop him. Stay till the end, because what Marcus does next will give you chills. And if you believe courage can change the world, hit like and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live, where real stories remind us that kindness is power. The night after the shooting, Willow Creek felt colder than usual. Rain poured over the small town as Marcus sat in his car outside the precinct, staring at the glow of his office window. Inside, someone was still working, Officer Peterson. Marcus's jaw tightened. The evidence was clear. The license plate from the shooter's vehicle matched Peterson's SUV, the very same man who had called Kent's actions a mistake. He stepped out into the rain, coat pulled tight, and walked into the station. His footsteps echoed through the empty hall. Peterson looked up, startled. Chief, you're here late. Marcus didn't answer. He placed a folder on the desk between them. That's your vehicle on camera, Peterson. Outside the community center. During the shooting. Peterson's face went pale. That's insane. Someone must have... Marcus cut him off. Don't lie to me. You think this is about one bad cop? You were part of this from the start. Peterson's voice trembled. You don't understand, Chief. Collins made us do it. He said if we didn't shut you up, the whole department would burn. Marcus leaned forward, eyes fierce. Then let it burn. The door opened suddenly. Lily Tran stepped in, hand on her holster. Chief, we've got a confession. Peterson's been talking. Marcus turned to him. It's over. You're done. Peterson's shoulders slumped. You'll regret this. The mayor won't go down easy. Marcus sighed. Neither will I. The next morning, Marcus walked into City Hall, not as a victim, not as a target, but as a man ready to end this once and for all. The media filled the steps. Reporters shouted questions. The people of Willow Creek gathered behind barricades, holding signs that read "Justice for Jayden and Clean the Force." Inside, the mayor sat at his desk, confident, calm, until Marcus placed a thick folder in front of him. What's this? Collins asked. Everything, Marcus said. Recordings, documents, statements, proof that you covered for Kent, ordered Peterson to silence me and tried to destroy evidence. Collins's fake smile faltered. You don't have proof. Marcus tapped the recorder on his belt. A faint click. Peterson's voice played back and his confession word for word. The mayor's face drained of color. You can't... Oh, I already did, Marcus said firmly. And by now, so has every news outlet in this building. Outside, sirens wailed. State investigators and deputies stormed in, led by Officer Tran. Mayor Collins, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and conspiracy. As they took him away, the mayor turned to Marcus, voice dripping with bitterness. You think you've saved this town? You've just destroyed it. Marcus shook his head. No, I've rebuilt it. Weeks later, the town began to heal. Officer Kent and Peterson were behind bars. The mayor resigned. And Marcus? He didn't just lead a police department. He led a movement. At a community event in the town square, Marcus stood before a crowd of families, officers, and neighbors, people who once stayed silent but now stood together. Jayden sat proudly in the front row beside Renee, his bruise gone, replaced with a wide smile. Marcus took the microphone. I once thought justice was something we found in a courtroom, but I've learned it starts right here, he said, placing a hand over his heart, in how we treat each other, how we stand up when it's hardest, and how we refuse to look away. The crowd cheered. Some cried. Even a few officers wiped their eyes. Marcus looked at his son. Jayden, you showed me what courage really means. And this badge, he held it up high, will never again be used to harm, only to protect. Applause thundered through the square. Ending narration, emotional and inspiring tone. That day, Willow Creek changed forever. The same streets that once echoed with silence now carried voices. Strong, united and unafraid. Marcus Johnson didn't just become the new chief in town. He became the heartbeat of a community that finally remembered what justice truly means. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that one voice can make a difference, please take a second to hit like and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live, because sometimes the smallest act of courage can rewrite an entire town's story.